Hello friends, welcome to this podcast. And as you all know by now that we are actually talking about various topics. Because you know what, more importantly, all these topics have a data analysis element into that. And without any topic, this discussion does not make any sense. So today we have a fantastic speaker with us, a person who has worked in the industry, and that industry is all about traffic movement. Yes, you heard it right. This movement is about how can we actually enhance the feeling, the entire process about traffic movement. And for that, we have Harshad Abhyankar with us. Harshad is basically from Mumbai and he has done his BTech from IIT Powai. After that, he got into electronics sector and more importantly then into IT sector. After working for about 2 decades in IT, Harshad decided to make a shift into something called as traffic movement, and about which we are going to talk in detail. Welcome, Harshad.
Hello, good morning.
So Harshad, we all know that you have worked in technology, and our viewers are now used to seeing people work into technology. So could you tell a little bit about your stint about technology and then how you shifted to something which I just said about traffic movement?
I think the latter question is more interesting, but for that I need to answer the former question as well. So as you mentioned, I did my BTech from IIT Powai.
Right.
Then I worked in the electronics field for a few years. And that was the zamana or the era when people used to get sucked into IT field, because there was a dearth of IT expertise and the field was really exploding very fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working as a software engineer. I worked in Mumbai also for a few years, and then I spent a few years in Canada and US working in the software industry.
Mm-hmm.
And after about 5 years in Canada and US, so we never really wanted to settle there. So all of us, family, myself, my wife, who is also an IT engineer, and our daughter, we shifted to India. I got an interesting opportunity here in Pune, so we decided to settle down in Pune.
Wow.
When we talk about US, we immediately think of the wide roads they have, the freeway system they have, the cars, and very smooth traffic, very disciplined traffic. Of course, it can be a little debatable whether Europe is more disciplined or US, but compared to India, all these countries are disciplined. And so naturally, anyone who visits any of these countries thinks, "Arey yaar, mere desh mein aisa kyun nahi?" And yes, so of course, all of us have that feeling. So after coming to Pune and experiencing Pune traffic, and this I'm talking about 23 years, 24 years ago. Okay. But even then, so one of my friends who, that time I did not know this person, Rajendra Sidhe, he had started this movement called Save Pune Traffic Movement.
Okay.
Essentially, the thinking that time was that although very few of us follow traffic rules, but can we unite and can we make that entity visible?
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone sees people who do not follow traffic rules and everyone follows them like herd. But those who follow traffic rules, if they stand out, if they set a visible example for others to follow, maybe some people who are sitting on the fence would feel like following traffic rules. And as that number grows, maybe some sense can be seen in Pune traffic also. So I joined that movement, and so we used to sport stickers saying, "I'm proud to follow traffic rules." And the name of this NGO called Save Pune Traffic Movement.
So you try to make it visible, basically.
Just to make it visible, to set a good example. Also, that also tells people that this guy is not going to move till the signal becomes green. No point in honking, this guy is not going to move.
Right.
And so on and so forth. And then the numbers started to grow from 10 to 20 to 100 to a few hundreds and a few thousands actually.
Wow.
And then we started thinking, all this is fine, but we are not making a visible impact on the traffic in Pune. So how can we do that?
Right.
So then we thought, okay, we can have some spare time on weekends, maybe on weekdays also. And there are hundreds of us together now. And maybe let's start conducting some workshops in schools, because when school children start experiencing the traffic on their own in the age group of 5th, 6th, 7th standard, they start walking and cycling to school independently.
Right.
They need to be exposed to certain good practices, certain dangers of today's traffic, so that they can be more defensive and safe and so on. So we started conducting some workshops. As the numbers grew of the membership of our movement, we also started saying, let's now start interacting with municipal corporation, with PMPML, with traffic police, so that we can tell them.
So that's how it became a movement, I guess.
That's a movement. And then we said that, before we point fingers at others, we are making sure that nobody can point fingers at us because we follow traffic rules. That's a basic minimal expectation from a responsible citizen.
Okay.
And we are doing that.
Absolutely.
And that's how this movement started. And then we shifted to evolve to other.
But this was actually happening when you were still working in IT sector, right?
This was happening when I was still working in the IT sector.
Okay. You were working in IT, and IT, you all know, we can work for 20 hours.
Right.
So you have time and energy.
Yes.
And then you now got into this field or the entire sector of traffic movement. SPTM, I think that's
Save Pune traffic movement. That's that's a full form of.
So is this really such a big job that you had to leave your IT work and then get into this movement?
So it's like this. If you want to make any improvement happen in the society, in our city, it is a full-time job, as you can see.
Right.
You talk about maybe the issue of garbage or literacy or cleanliness, health, anything.
Absolutely.
And there's no dearth of the work to be done.
Right.
But yes, so what happened, and as you rightly said, this 20-hour, you have conference calls or meetings at 3 o'clock in the morning, or on weekends, you need to catch up with your emails and stuff like that. And at the end of it, yes, you start getting tired. You start thinking, "Arey, ye kya life hai?" I then thought that now since I'm involved with some social cause, maybe let me take a break for 2 to 3 months. And 3 mahine, 6 mahine maybe, how about a year? So it started getting extended.
So it got attracted, probably.
It got attracted, and what happens is, as you put your head in some subject, naturally you start acquiring more knowledge.
Right.
I also got into one consulting project, a freelance consulting project. That also, I got an opportunity to learn as well as contribute to that study project.
Right.
And one thing led to the other, and that 1 saal, 2 saal, 5 saal. So that I always kept on postponing searching back for an IT job. And I have read somewhere that if you are engrossed in a subject for 10,000 hours, then you become an expert in it.
So 10,000 hours, is this going wrong? I mean, 10,000 hours
sounds mind-boggling,
huge,
right?
Actually.
But then I thought, what is 10,000 hours? Is it really a huge number? And then, if you consider any professional job, you typically tend to work 40 hours a week at the minimum.
Yeah, true.
For 50 weeks a year.
Yeah.
2 weeks
Even
for vacation.
If you work normal hours.
Even if you work only 40 hours a week, 9 to 5 kind of a job, a 9 to 6 job, then that itself is 2,000 hours a year.
Right.
By times 5.
Yeah, I understand.
Essentially, what they're saying is that if you work in a field for 5 years with all your head and mind and blood and sweat, then you gather phenomenal, or at least a huge amount of knowledge in that field. And that's what happened with me. And then, as I talked about one consulting project, I used to also conduct some freelance road safety workshops. And then I actually got a proper job in an international NGO working in this field.
So that's interesting. Harshad, actually, this field, traffic movement, got a dedicated and a knowledgeable and a brilliant student, let me say that. Because you said you are a learner also. But tell me one thing, that about this field, I'm still not so clear that I understand about IT or manufacturing or any other field. But something which is not existing, and traffic, I have just heard it actually. That there is a field called as traffic, so much so that such a brilliant person decides to jump into it. That means this field must be something more than what it looks like. Could you please explain about this traffic movement at large?
It's good that you asked this question, because what happens is many times when we talk about and traffic or transportation is certainly a very hot topic. Wherever you go to somebody says, "Arey, deri ho gayi kyunki traffic tha," and then you start blaming something or the other. And we frequently think that this issue can be solved simply out of common sense. I have a lot of common sense. Nobody else in the world has it. Correct?
It seems common.
That is the solution. The solution lies with me. I can tell you how to tackle this.
Right.
What we don't know is that it is a highly technical subject. Common sense, yes, to a certain extent, certainly. But common sense applied in the right direction.
Okay.
To the extent that there are full-time 2 years master degree courses for transportation planning.
Wow.
Just
You're
like
here in India?
They are here in India.
Wow.
There are universities in Bhopal and Delhi and Ahmedabad and a few other cities as well, where there is a full-fledged 2-year degree, master's degree course after architecture, maybe after civil engineering as well. But it's a full-fledged 2 years degree course. And then comes the question that, frequently we come across citizen representatives right from Nagar Sevaks up to MPs going and telling the technically competent department in municipal corporation or state government or central government कि भाई हमको यहाँ पे ऐसा project चाहिए, XYZ project.
Right.
And that's what really puzzles me a lot. Because it is good that you are maybe mentioning some burning issue that citizens are facing.
Right.
But you should explain that issue. You should not suggest a solution.
Okay.
What happens when you and I go to a doctor, let's say?
We just tell the symptoms what we have.
Right. You tell a doctor, "Bhai, पेट में दर्द हो रहा है या मेरी chest में दर्द हो रहा है." Do you tell your doctor कि ये tumor निकालो? You don't know what is the tumor. You don't know whether it's harmful or whatever the suggestion that you are giving. Doctor is going to say, "Who is the doctor? You or me?"
Right.
ये तो जाके Google से बात करो. Right? So same is the case here also. The citizen representative should simply go and tell the planners that भाई इस एरिया में congestion बहुत हो रहा है और इस एरिया में pollution बहुत हो रहा है या there are a lot of road accident deaths or whatever that, and solve that problem. How to solve it? Please leave it to the technically competent, educated officers in the respective departments. Right. That's the thing.
Interesting, actually. So I see that there is a lot of so that probably explain if people have started universities and colleges just to teach this.
Right.
But in our day-to-day life, when we say that this is a movement, I mean, so much so that you have to make a movement out of this. What are the various aspects of this traffic movement one needs to understand and possibly need to work on?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I, for example, decided to make a career switch. And if somebody else who has a head on his shoulder wants to say that, how can I contribute to this movement or this NGO or this improvement in our city? What can I do? I have some spare time. So can I spare some time on Saturdays and Sundays, or maybe during my weekday also? It is good that that person has that intention,
Right.
but unfortunately, there aren't so many volunteering opportunities here, because it's not as if you can collect some money and get some donations and build a road. You are not authorized to do that. And so many other things also.
Right.
Does it mean that you cannot do anything at all? Not quite. Because at the very basic citizen level, as I said, this entire movement that I'm part of, it evolved out of taking an oath or making a promise that I, as a responsible citizen, will do my duty. So that is one basic level of contribution that any citizen can.
Right.
But yes, it doesn't stop there. It should not stop there. If you are able to contribute a little bit more, one thing is that you will need to understand how some things work. And we frequently make a comparison with other, social interests like tree plantation, for example. And I'm not trying to undermine that, because people do some fantastic job there.
Right.
But at a volunteer level, you do not need a lot of technical knowledge. You need to have a passion, certainly. You need to have a commitment. I have committed कि मैं Saturday morning को वहाँ पे जाऊँगा and we will plant some trees and there are 100 volunteers. I need to be there if I've committed to that. So that commitment and passion should be there. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
But then more than that, there are certain areas where people can contribute. For example, we frequently talk about, and good that you mentioned that also, because data is your field, data analytics. And what we frequently tell the municipal corporations and traffic police, etc., that whatever decisions you are taking should be based on some data.
Absolutely.
Right? You cannot simply say, "Arey, yahan pe na flyover banate hain. Arey, kyun banate hain? Is it going to help? Does data show that?" Or so many other things also.
Yeah.
Right? So same thing about road safety, for example. We want to maybe enhance some enforcement area related activities in this area. Why that area? There should be some justification.
True.
The good thing is that some of our government entities have started collecting some data. The PMPML, for example, they collect and maintain a huge amount of data on a daily basis.
Okay.
How many buses were scheduled, how many trips got cancelled, how many kilometers did a bus run, what was the revenue, tickets में कहाँ से कहाँ पर लोगों ने travel किया, and huge amount of data.
Lot of data, yeah.
So unfortunately, they do not have the technical know-how to analyze data on a continual basis. But that is where people like us can come in.
Absolutely.
So therefore, you need to first of all spend some time, money, energy in understanding what the data is, analyze it, and then come up with concrete proposals.
Right.
ऐसा है, if you tweak your buses this way, and then it is possible that you run your bus fleet more efficiently and more people can be made.
Right.
But yes, you'll need to invest substantial amount of mind in that.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit about data now. Talking about data, I often think about two main aspects: qualitative aspect of this work and the data, and the quantitative aspect.
Okay.
Could you please elaborate quantitatively what kind of things are there, and what is the qualitative aspect about this movement as such, from the data aspect?
I'll touch upon the qualitative part first.
Okay, sure.
And because there are some basic things which will have an impact on understanding the quantitative nature.
Okay.
So we frequently come across the perils of traffic, which are namely the top three are congestion, pollution, accidents.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And if I'm able to travel from point A to point B without getting stuck in traffic, without having to protect my nose with a mask, and with a reasonable guarantee that I can reach there, it's congestion, pollution, road safety, accidents. So these three things have to be tackled. So how do you tackle congestion? Because we have certain amount of roads, city space devoted to roads and in general transportation related infrastructure, be it roads, be it petrol pumps or bus depots and what you have. Can we double it every 10 years? Right?
Yeah.
Our population is doubling every 10 to 15 years.
Right.
Number of vehicles is doubling faster than that. Can we double the road space? We cannot. So it means and implies that sometime or the other, we need to think of carrying more and more people or carrying more and more trips. Trips is a unit in which we measure how much transportation a city has.
Okay.
With minimum amount of road space, minimum amount of fuel. Correct.
Right.
Because if you say twice as many people, twice as many cars, twice as much petrol being burned in the same amount of city area.
Right.
City area is not going to double when population doubles. City gets congested, city grows vertically also. So how can we do that? So that is a qualitative aspect that we need to understand first of all, that we have to manage transportation with more or less the same amount of road space, ensuring that more and more trips are carried with lesser and lesser amount of fuel and lesser amount of road space.
Right. So that's a better life basically.
So that we all get better life. What does it mean? It means more public transportation or more walking.
Right.
For closer distances, for 100, 200, 500 meters, I should be able to walk by choice safely without any fear that I'll be struck down by a vehicle. If I can do that, right now, today, that is not the situation in Pune. And therefore, people tend to use a two-wheeler just to go to the corner shop to buy a loaf of bread.
Right.
because they think that is more convenient. So how can we make walking, cycling and public transportation more convenient, more attractive than using a car or a two-wheeler?
Absolutely.
So that is the qualitative part. So once you have this focus and once you understand this is the fundamental philosophy with which we need to tackle all transportation issues, that is where I talked about that master's degree course. So that comes in after this vision is set by the city collectively, saying that हमको ऐसा ही transportation plan करना है.
Right.
And then comes the question of gathering data on the trips that you do. Then how many trips are for nearer and longer distance? How can you support them as much as possible with walking, bus and metro and cycling? And then if that can be done, I should not feel like using a car or a two-wheeler if I get all that confirmed.
Correct.
That's
Wow, actually you opened up. Now I understand why this is a movement as such. And there are absolutely a lot of things one can do. I have started thinking about actually starting some internships to make traffic movement better, where we could actually help analyze and we could really invest time and energy for the sole purpose of making the life better. Harshad, I have a question about this. You mentioned a few times about government and government authorities.
Right.
It's a very simple term to use, that government should do this and we should behave like this. So when you talk about government, I feel there could be more entities. Could you explain a little bit about what are these aspects when we say they or government should do these things? But are there multiple agencies there?
There certainly are.
Okay.
And different agencies have different roles. There are some overlaps naturally, because it's very difficult to compartmentalize that way. In a way, certainly it's good that there are some overlaps. So on a loose overarching thing, I would say that transportation planning of an entire city is that municipal corporation or Nagar Parishad or whatever, it's their responsibility.
City planning office.
If they do not have that capacity, then the state government can help them.
Okay.
But that is the local governing body, as we say.
Okay.
It is their responsibility. Once they say that, because they are the ones who also have the city development plan. They know that a city is going to grow in this direction more than in that direction. Maybe some IT park or some factory is coming up, or something or the other is coming up, or maybe it's more convenient to provide water and sewage in that area than this area, whatever the thing.
Correct.
Once you do that, you understand that this area is going to grow more, so it's going to have more vehicles, more buses, more pedestrians, more everything. And then how do I do that?
Right.
So that is the overall transportation planning thing. Once that planning thing is done, the second thing that we encounter on a daily basis is road discipline, traffic discipline. Right? Because I am a responsible citizen. I stop at a red light, but the other one doesn't. And then we have all accident and other issues.
Right.
So that is where traffic police come in.
The RTO, I guess.
Not RTO.
No?
RTO is different from traffic police.
Oh,
that's a very, I would say, misconception. Not number one, but one of the top misconceptions.
Okay.
That's where traffic police comes in. Traffic police is a branch or department of the overall police. They fall under the Commissionerate of Police. The police overall are responsible for maintaining law and order. So traffic police are responsible for maintaining law and order on the road.
Okay.
So that's where traffic police comes in. So they are expected to challan all, let's say, signal jumpers or any any traffic violations, stuff like that, parking issues, whatever. The third entity, which is also very important, is the RTO. You mentioned RTO.
Right.
RTO is responsible for issuing licenses after conducting sufficiently stringent driving tests. And I smile and laugh there because we all know what kind of traffic tests we have in our country.
Right.
But yes, sooner or later they better improve that. But essentially, they are responsible for ensuring the health of the vehicle on the road, whether the vehicle is roadworthy or not. That by that we mean whether the pollution PUC check is done, or whether the headlights are working and stuff like that, so that the vehicle is roadworthy. That is the RTO's responsibility. So these are the three primary government entities.
Agencies. Yeah.
Then in addition to that, we also have public transportation, which is provided in form of buses, or in some cities there are informally run shared autos. But some sort of maybe some cities have charted out what are the stipulations or guidelines that the shared auto should follow. And more sophisticated, more formal issues, formal system like PMPML or best buses is something that all of us in this area know, or metro systems.
Okay.
That is the public transportation entity, and those are the government entities. These are the primary entities that we all come across on a day-to-day basis.
Wow, I now understand this is an enormous field actually, and we can go on and on and on, but I think we have some time constraints.
Yeah.
So it's so nice to actually know the details about this. Could you please tell our viewers certain things which they could immediately act upon so that the road traffic movement as such could be better?
How many? I'll try to be brief because I understand. It's not. It's rather complicated. But as I said, at the very first basic level, as a basic responsibility that every responsible citizen should follow and observe is follow traffic rules.
Right.
Unless and until you make sure that no fingers are pointing at you, you cannot point fingers at others. And right to follow my finger at others is my primary right. Anyway, jokes apart, but that is one thing. Second is, we talked about this qualitative vision that a city should have, right? So let's understand that all of us want lesser congestion, lesser pollution, and fewer road accidents. So rather than simply stopping at this sentence, please try to analyze and understand what does that mean, and make sure that the demands that you make for improvements in traffic, the demands can be made with either government authorities or maybe your local MLA or corporator or whoever the political leader is, but make sure that your demand contributes to the improvement in city.
Right.
For example, if you demand that I want a flyover here, it means that you are then more likely to use a car, which is going to consume more fuel, add more pollution, and add to congestion in your city. So try to look at all this data, and Anand is here, so naturally he would like to mention data everywhere, and which is necessary because we also advocate to the government authorities that everything that you do should have basic data justification data, right? So I want less congestion, analyze congestion, and then make a demand, and then follow that. And if you have more time, money, energy, maybe what you can do is you can contact any of NGOs like us. And fortunately, Pune is blessed to have multiple NGOs working in the transportation sector who collaborate very nicely with each other, and they tackle different issues. So there is a lot of data that we can acquire and we want to analyze, and sky's the limit.
Thank you so much, Harshad, for actually opening this topic and telling us about the traffic movement. I'm sure this will help our viewers to decide the action plan for themselves. Thank you so much.
It certainly should. Thank you very much for this opportunity, because as you said, not topic, but I would say Pandora's box, and the topic is endless, but it's good that you made a beginning for your viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So viewers, today we saw the traffic movement in general, and now that we think about it, is actually an entire movement, and certainly all of us should help by knowing exactly your duties and responsibilities. How exactly we would like to see the life becoming better and better for all of us. Please note, transactionally, we should capture as much data as possible. We should work with these NGOs like SPTM, Save Pune Traffic Movement, and we should actually start analyzing the data. If we know certain aspects about this, then certainly we will be able to volunteer there and make sure that your contribution is going to help the life better.